When we talk about the Hebrew scriptures and the conquest of Canaan, we have to understand that all through the Bible, there are a number of different narratives that are weaving themselves together. There is the narrative of conquest that is largely driven by propagandistic language, over-the-top, hyperbolic language, declaring Israel's victory over her enemies. But there is also this narrative woven throughout the scriptures of peaceable co-interaction between different nations in Canaan. Actually, even sometimes partnership between Israel and the indigenous Canaanites against other invading forces like the Philistines who were coming down from the northern Aegean Sea into that area during the Bronze Age. And you see this woven through the scriptures as well. And there's some really neat moments, particularly in the book of 1 Samuel, where we get to see those counter-narratives that tell us that God is interested not just in the conquest of our enemies, but in the partnership and the peaceable living together of neighbors in proximity with each other. From the towns of Ekron to Gath, all that the Philistines had captured were restored to Israel, and Israel delivered the neighboring territory from the hand of the Philistines. There was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Interesting little phrase here to end this section that I want to talk about. There was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Seems a bit of a non sequitur thrown in at the end, right? This whole section, 3 battles now, have all been about the Philistines, and yet the section closes with peace between Israel and the Amorites. And the question here is about who these Amorites are. This term is somewhat nebulous, but it does seem to be used by the biblical writers as a broad name for the indigenous Canaanite nations. If you recall, the Philistines, as an example, are not from Canaan, right? They are a group of settlers coming down from the northern Aegean Sea. And there's lots of other groups moving into this area during the Bronze Age. The Amorites were a Semitic group with connections to the Levant all the way back into the Sumerian dynasty. And there's various subgroups and nations under that title, but the title seems to be used, in the Bible at least, to refer to what we might call the OG Canaanites. Robert Alter cites Shmuel Avramsky's work here to suggest that what the writer is communicating here with this line, they delivered the neighboring territories from the hand of the Philistines, is that the Hebrews have actually established peace with a whole group of the surrounding neighbors by fighting on their behalf. Which again demonstrates that there's a much more complex relationship between the Hebrew people and their Canaanite neighbors than it might appear at other times in the Bible. Things are difficult and nuanced. And that makes sense to me, both in the way that the title Amorite is used in the Bible, but also in the narrative here. We see God withdraw from the war of aggression that starts the whole section, but then support Israel when they call out for salvation, and in doing so, God helps to establish peace in the region for at least a generation between a whole host of different nations. There are really important themes that are being seeded here in the story, even in these formational stories as Israel moves its way toward nationhood. We just have to be looking for them, and I would argue that looking through the lens of Jesus helps to highlight them for us. Hey, thanks for making it through to the end of that. If you're interested in what we're doing here at Commons, then give us a subscribe, a like, all of that stuff. And by all means, post a comment and we'll continue the discussion there. You can also join our Discord for the ongoing dialogue here in our community. Anyway, have a great week. We'll see you soon.